Oh, yeah. Good thinking. Good morning, everyone. Time to get started. If you guys could find your way in here, and so much chattering and conversation this morning. It's great. Okay, all right. We're going to start.
Yeah.
Um, Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living in the heart of Las Cruces this beautiful Sunday. And I'm Sarah Benson, and this is Kay and Doug. And we're going to start with a couple of songs. If you'd like to stand, I invite you to. Yeah. Okay.
Just go for it.
Just start.
Hello, it's great to see you. Hey friend, you're not alone. Come in, our hearts are open. Welcome home. Come on, the Spirit's moving. Our love is here to grow. Wake up, our coffee's brewing. Welcome home. This is my place. This is your place. This is our place. Welcome home. Hello.
This is my place.
It's great to see you. Hey friend.
This is your place.
You're not alone. Come in.
This is our place.
Our hearts are open. Welcome home.
This is my
The
place.
Spirit's moving. Our love
This is your
is
place.
here to grow. Wake up.
This is our
Our coffee's
place.
brewing. Welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home. I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. I'll always be the perfect me. There's nothing to rearrange. I'm beautiful and capable of being the best me I can. And I love myself just the way I am. I love you the way you are. There's nothing you need to do. When I feel the love inside myself, it's easy to love you. Behind your fears, your rage and tears, I see your shining star. And I love you just the way you are. I love the world the way it is, 'cause I can clearly see that all the things I judge are done by people just like me. So till the birth of peace on earth that only love can bring, I'll help it grow by loving every day. I love myself the way I am, but still I want to grow. The change outside can only come when deep inside I know I'm beautiful and capable of being the best me I can. And I love myself just the way I am. I love myself just the way I am.
Well, look at these wonderful people.
Good morning. I'm Judy Hunt, your practitioner in service today. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living in the heart of Las Cruces, where our vision is a world in loving partnership for the good of all. Welcome to anyone visiting for the first time. There's a great packet of information about us, how to sign up for our email, and a gift certificate to the bookstore, so welcome. And everyone is welcome to stay after the service today for our potluck and town hall meeting. This will be the first of our quarterly town hall meetings for the Board of Trustees to update you on the latest and greatest here at CSL. And the third Sunday in between quarterly town hall meetings will be just the potluck and fun discussions. So on it goes. We get to eat together again. It's a blessing. Yay! On October 21 from 1:30 to 3:30, CSL and Unity are co-hosting an ancestral family healing. It's a free constellation workshop, and there's more information in the social hall. Our next treasure sale is coming right up. It'll be October 28, and we have begun collecting items. Janice Fowler is spearheading this event and gratefully welcomes any help during the week to sort and price. I know it makes her load a lot less, and we want to see her shining and smiling the day after the sale. So that's important. And so the times to come, if you can help anytime, just, you're in town, drop in. She's here Monday and Tuesday from 10 until noon, and Wednesday and Thursday 10 to 2. And it's mostly just sorting the stuff so that when the sale happens, it's organized. She does a beautiful job. And then we set up on Friday the 27th, and the sale is the Saturday, the 28th. And prior to the treasure sale, we have some items you can start bidding on now in our silent auction, and you can see them outside. The highest bidder on the day of the sale will get to have the item. And looking into November, Teresa Valenzuela will facilitate the class Journey of the Soul, starting November 11. This one will be on Saturdays from 1 to 3:30. So if the weekday classes have been hard for you to get to, here's a Saturday class. 6 weeks. And there's info and sign up in the social hall. And our Deborah Taylor is coordinating a craft and bake sidewalk sale on Saturday, November 18th. So start crafting, and we will be gratefully receiving any crafts or baked goods you would like to donate to the center for this sale. And more information will be coming, but if you're crafty, get started. So now, here in the Center for Spiritual Living, we believe in the power of prayer. We call it spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. There are prayer requests in front of each of you, and we have a wonderful group of practitioners and ministers from the 4 New Thought Centers here in Las Cruces. So we get together every Tuesday and pray with you. So it's very powerful and wonderful for us. So please add any concerns you have, and we will pray with you. Also, we have gratitude cards for when those prayers come true, or when stuff is happening great in your life. Just let us know. The more you speak gratitude, the more there is to be grateful for. So please do that. Oh, and today, Bob and I will be available for prayer after service. There's also a prayer button on our website, and we answer that. So we have you covered. Now it is time for song, silence, and prayer.
Cup is full, my love overflows. I a fountain goodness and light. My cup is full, my strength overflows. I am fountain of life. Oh, my cup is full, my joy overflows. I am fountain of goodness and light. My cup is full, my joy overflows. I am fountain of life. My cup is full, my peace overflows. I am fountain of goodness and light. Oh, my cup is full, my peace overflows. I am fountain of light, a fountain of life.
We are so blessed. Let us keep that forefront in our minds as we look for the good will look back for us, and we will see it. We lean on our faith as we walk. We look with our faith at the circumstances, and we do not fear. We see good. It is good. We remember our faith and move through the world with ease and grace, and thereby bringing peace to everyone that we touch. And our energy blesses the world. If there's nothing else we can do, we can bless the world with our peace. So that's what we choose this week. We bless the world with our peace. And so it is. Our reading today comes from the Science of Mind text by Ernest Holmes, right in the very beginning of the book. We see abundance in the universe. We cannot count the grains of sand on a single beach. The earth contains untold riches, and the very air is vibrant with power. Why, then, is man weak, poor, and afraid? The Science of Mind deals with these questions. The divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God-ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. All instinctively feel this. This truth points to freedom under law. Thus, the inherent nature of man is forever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom. We do well to listen to this inner voice, for it tells us of a life wonderful in its scope, of a love beyond our fondest dreams, of a freedom which the soul craves. But the love of the universe must be one with the great law of its own being, and we approach love through the law. This then is the teaching, love and law. As the love of God is perfect, so the law of God also is perfect. We must understand both. Whatever the nature of any principle may be, insofar as it is understood by anyone, it may be understood by all who take the time to investigate. This does not require an unusual degree of intelligence, but rather a practical application of what we now know in order that we may increase our knowledge. The study of the science of mind is a study of first cause, spirit, mind, that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes, the power back of creation, the thing itself. And so it is.
So when I first started thinking about this paradox theme for this month, this song came to mind. It's Turn, Turn, Turn. The words from the book of Ecclesiastics, and this is arranged by Pete Seeger. So yeah. Please sing along if you'd like.
To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to heal, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of peace, a time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time to love, a time to hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Bonnie, the community spiritual leader here at the center, for those of you who might not know. And it is my pleasure to be here once again as we look at this idea of paradox. So I wonder how many of you found some paradoxes in your life since I last spoke? A few? You've been thinking about them? Yeah. Okay. Anyone want to share one? What's come up? What have you been grappling with, playing with? Yes, Doug? Judy mentioned it, to be free under the law. The paradox of that, yeah. What else? Anyone else have one they've been thinking about, playing with? Okay, have you thought about that pivot point where we kind of move from one to the other, like the song, we were going back and forth between them? Yeah. And today I was going to talk about a paradoxical mindset and what that might be. But then I wanted to wait a moment because the week before I gave the talk last time when you all left here with eyes like this, like, oh my gosh, what did she say? I heard the talk about loving out loud. Teresa had a wonderful panel of women that were sharing from the different New Thought centers here in town. And they were talking about how when they walked into this building, when they walked into the building that they were affiliated with, they felt loved. They felt welcome. And they were told, some of them for the first time from the platform, that they are lovable, that they are worthy, that they're perfect exactly the way they are. And when I listened to them sharing, I thought, ooh, I wonder if people feel that way when they hear me speak. I hope so. And I realized I spent a lot of time up here. I love to grapple with those ideas. And that's where I get excited and I start talking about all these things and concepts. And I want you to know that I want you to feel loved as well. Sarah's laughing at me. It's true. I want you to feel that when you come here as well, and I hope that that comes through some of my messages, along with all of this intellectual stuff we get to deal with. And so I realized for myself, I also love to feel that love, and I was so thrilled when I walked in the first Church of Religious Science over many years ago, because I could unapologetically be myself. And I could strive to be a minister and a woman without having to apologize or defend or explain that that was okay. It was a wonderful feeling. And I felt like I belonged someplace for the first time in years. So again, I really, really hope that you all hear that in the different messages that we provide to you from this place. And I also continue to love grappling with the thoughts, with the new thoughts, with the ideas that keep coming up for us and getting that deeper understanding of the truth and the universe and how it works in my life. You can tell that's what gets me totally fired up. And so I realized that it is all love and law. And I think of love as the heart space and law as the head space. And the two of them are still part of the whole. It's part of the one. And so that's, again, where we're back at this idea of both and. And so we've already heard some Ernest Holmes, but here's more of what he has to say about love and law. In an intelligent study of the teachings of science of mind, we come to understand that all is love, and yet all is law. Love rules through law. Love is the divine givingness. Law is the way. Love is spontaneous, law is impersonal. We should study the nature of reality with this in mind, and in this way we shall avoid two grave mistakes. Either viewing life as made up only of mechanical law, or viewing it as made up only of spontaneous actions irrespective of law and order. As we gain the broader viewpoint, we shall see that life must contain two fundamental characteristics. We shall see that there is an infinite spirit operating through an infinite and immutable law. In this, cosmos and not chaos finds an eternal existence in reality. Love points the way, and law makes the way possible. Love points the way, and law makes the way possible. So we're back at the both and. Love and law, head and heart, all part of the whole. So, that being said, what does the law of attraction, holy hospitality, and forgiveness have in common? Love, yes, good. It's part of our everyday life. Every one of those things, all three of those things are part of our everyday life, and they are all part of what I call the paradoxical mindset. They all bring us a paradox to deal with in our life. F. Scott Fitzgerald said, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function." I liked that. And I think that everyone in this room is intelligent, which means you all have the capacity to hold two apparently opposing ideas in your mind and still function, still move forward through life. So let's explore the three paradoxes that I just mentioned. First of all, I mentioned the first week I talked one of the things that I remember hearing when I grew up a lot was that opposites attract. You've all heard that? Opposites attract. And science can even prove that. If you take two magnets, you need the positive and the negative to pull together. The positive and negative attract. If you try and two positives, they're going to repel. So we can say, okay, opposites attract. And yet in the science of mind, we teach like attracts like. Have you heard that also? Yeah. We teach that, and in the class that we're studying right now, From Whence We Came, we were told that Ernest Holmes read The Ideal Made Real by Christian D. Larson. And this is what he said. And when I read this, I thought, that might be where we started to get this idea around like attracts like. He says, do not simply yearn for what you can see, and do not covet what has not yet become your own. Proceed to remake yourself into the likeness of that ideal, and it will become your own. So we make who we are to attract more of what it is that we want. And so I looked at that and I thought, okay, that's kind of like saying like attracts like, right? We want to be this to attract it into our life. So I looked up in Ernest Holmes' writings to see what did he say about attraction. And in one of the paragraphs, one of the places I found what he had to say, he also talked about what he called the law of reflection. So what we are, what we think, is reflected back to us from the world. So again, that's like to like. So what we want to become, we see reflected in the world. That's what we're going to attract to us. So if we want friends, we become friendly. We become someone we want to be friends with. And Ernest Holmes said, in order to have this friendship enduring, true, really worthwhile, and a thing of beauty, we should cultivate an attitude of friendship toward everyone and everything. The one who has learned to love all people will find plenty of people who will return that love. So again, that says to me, like attracting like. We want love in our life, we become loving. We want friends, we become friendly. And so, which is it? It's kind of that paradoxical idea, right? So while considering relationships, I found another interesting paradox, and this one is called the paradox of vulnerability. And this is Brene Brown. And she said, vulnerability is the first thing we look for in other people and the last thing we want to show them about ourselves. We immediately look for and are drawn to people who are open and vulnerable and willing to show the deepest and messiest parts of themselves to us. Yet we struggle to show those parts to others, feeling that they somehow represent a failure on our part. So that to me is the opposite. We're attracted to something that we find difficult to do, that we're not doing. So it's kind of like the opposite then is attracting us. So there's the paradox. Like attracts like, only opposites attract each other. We'll have to keep playing with that one. So back to Ernest Holmes. And he said, the one who loves all people is able to bring more love into their life. And so I looked at that and thought, how do we do that? How do we as individuals love all people? And how do we as a community love all people? We have been reading as a community, you've seen this a lot, Peter Block's book on community, the structure of belonging. And in here, he brings up the concept of hospitality and the importance of being hospitable, of having hospitality. So that's the welcoming, that's the being open to new people coming into our space and into our lives and welcoming them in a way that they feel the love that we talked about was here when other folks have come through the doors. So we want to have some hospitality when we are here and welcoming people. But then I thought, well, there's another paradox. Most of us come here to be uplifted spiritually. We come here to be fed spiritually. Do we come here to be hospitable? So we come here to get something. Are we here to also give something? Yeah. Well, Carl McColman in the Big Book of Christian Mystics said this: seek holiness, practice hospitality. Holiness is pure, hospitality is messy. Holiness requires rigorous self-control and unwavering commitment to standards of righteousness. Hospitality, by contrast, works only when flexibility and a willingness to meet people where they are come first. Thus, holiness and hospitality seem to pull us in opposite directions. Yet mystical Christianity calls us to both, to a life of spotless holiness and an all-embracing hospitality. So we seek holiness, we seek that spiritual upliftment, we seek to grow spiritually when we come here, and we're here to be hospitable to each other, to practice love with each other. We want more love in our life, more God. We need to practice more love in our life. So after reading that, I decided what we do here is holy hospitality. Yeah, that's what we're about, holy hospitality. That's what I hope people experience when they come through the doors, when they come into this community. That's what we have to offer, because we are open and loving, and of course, in order to be that, we have to start with ourselves, right? We have to love ourselves. I saw this quote on Facebook that I thought was perfect. You cannot shame yourself into change. You can only love yourself into evolution. Yeah. How many of you have shamed yourself into something worthwhile? It doesn't work. We have to love ourselves. We have to start there. And that takes us back to that other paradox that I've talked about, where we are perfect, like the song, we are perfect exactly the way we are, lovable just the way we are, and we are always changing. We're always evolving. So just the way we are doesn't stay that way for more than a second, if that long. So in order to be hospitable, we have to start with loving ourselves. We have to strive for that holy hospitality that welcomes the stranger, but we can really only be comfortable doing that when we're comfortable with ourselves, when we love ourselves. And so I want to take us back to an author that I have read from a lot prior to this. So if you haven't been here when I did, this is See No Stranger, a memoir and manifesto of revolutionary love by Valerie Carr. And there she is. I love this book, and so I highly encourage you to read it. So if you don't know what this book is about, she's a Sikh, and she wrote this after the Sikh temple was violated, and there were some shootings in a Sikh temple here in the United States. And she wrote this as her journey to reparation, how she was able to make peace with the people who did this, how she was able to meet and talk to some of them, how she was able to move into forgiveness and what that looked like. And so it's an amazing book in her process. But this is what she has to say about loving ourselves, and that's where it starts. And again, some of this might be a little radical. Just go with it. It's okay. Loving ourselves is frontline social justice work. Audre Lorde said, caring for myself is not an act of self-indulgence, it is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. I'm not sure I would use those words, but it's an act of something strong that we're doing for ourselves. And Bell Hooks wrote, I have seen that we cannot fully create effective moments for social change if individuals struggling for that change are not self-actualized or working toward that end. So that's getting to know ourselves, loving ourselves. Without loving ourselves, our other efforts to love fail. When asked why we should practice radical care for ourselves, Angela Davis responded, longevity. As we struggle, we are attempting to presage the world to come, she said. If we don't start practicing collective self-care now, there's no way to imagine, much less reach, a time of freedom. That means finding ways to breathe life into the world as we want it here and now. Perhaps, this is Valerie Carr again, perhaps it is time to shift the terms from self-love to loving ourselves. Loving ourselves happens in community. And so we often think of loving ourselves as something we do privately. But I like that she brought that back into community. How do we love ourselves in community? I think that, again, is what leads us to holy hospitality. That's the goal. We start in here, loving ourselves. And so as I was reading through all kinds of things, trying to figure out what to share with you, I found some words of Ernest Holmes that I just had to share because I think they're really cute, actually. This is from the Holmes Papers. And so this is a new book to me, The Philosophy of Ernest Holmes. This is transcripts of some of the things that he gave as lectures. And in one of the lectures he gave at a conference, he apparently asked the person introducing him, because they have a transcript of that as well, he asked them to tell the audience, please don't stand when I walk in. And the person introducing him said, we could also suggest that maybe we shouldn't even clap when he comes in. That might be the best way to honor him, is to neither stand nor clap. And he addresses that as to why he made that request. And he starts off by saying, of course, he really appreciates it when people do that, but he has a reason why he didn't want them to do that. So he says, I do appreciate it, have always, but we have overdone it, I think, and you will understand that. He says, I love it. I would like to take each of you in my lap and rock you to sleep, but instead of that, I have to try and wake you up, I guess. I love that. When we get a taste of who he was. But the reason he gave that is because he says, inside each one of us, we are all the same. We are all God expressing. So there's no reason to stand for one, clap for one, and not everyone. And he says, for all of us are divine, or no one is divine. All of us are an incarnation of God, or no one is. Everyone is immortal, or no one is immortal. And so he wanted to be treated like everyone else. But I loved that visual of him taking us in his lap, wanting to rock us to sleep, and realizing his job was to wake us up. And again, there's that paradox of just the cozy warmth and the, let's get going here, let's be awake, let's figure out what we need to do in life. And so I was thinking about, how do we, as a community then, have that feeling of compassion, that level of compassion that just wants to cozy someone in and make them safe and rock them to sleep, and still be a presence that wakes people up in the world and helps them to see the greater self and let that be expressed. And so that took me to another paradox that we have, and we talked about this the first week also. That idea that we're told to turn away from the condition. When we see a condition that we don't like, we're told turn away from the condition and focus on what it is you want to see in the world. And so Valerie Carr had something to say on that is part of what has bothered me. I've thought about when I think about that idea as well. And she said, pain that is not transformed is transferred. And that's a quote by Richard Rohr, a Franciscan priest. She says, when we leave people alone with their pain, their alienation becomes the precondition for radicalization. But in listening to people's pain, we can help them transform it. And so as I was reading through this, someone from home office who put the ideas for Paradox this month together suggested that instead of turning away from the condition, we face it, we listen, we get curious, and we help them raise above it. This person said, the suffering and problems remain for those who don't have the privilege of turning away. And so it's important that we take the time to get curious, to listen, and she says, but know that we can deny that those conditions have any power over reality. So instead of completely turning away, the idea is maybe we can face it, but remember that those conditions don't have the power. And as we listen and we get curious, we can help people rise above whatever those conditions might be that they're experiencing. So sometimes the issue is welcoming the stranger, loving the stranger, the person out there that we don't know who comes in through the doors. And sometimes I think the greater challenge is loving those people that we already know. Sometimes the challenge is holy hospitality and welcoming and loving those who come through the doors that we've seen a lot. Maybe we've seen them do things we don't like. Maybe they've treated us in a way that we don't like. Maybe they've actively oppressed or abused us or someone we love in a way that we don't like. So how do we continue to listen and be curious and practice love when we see people that we already know and we've already formed an opinion about? How do we bring holy hospitality into that situation, especially within a community where we see each other, some of us, over and over for many years? Well, that leads me to the third paradox for this morning. I'm calling the paradox of forgiveness. And I'm calling it the paradox of forgiveness because often we think of forgiveness, I'm going to forgive you, but what's happening is it's not for their sake that I'm practicing forgiveness. It's really for mine, right? We've talked about how when we forgive, it's shifting something in us. Forgiveness may not heal them, but it can heal us. It can heal the person doing the forgiving. And that concept is something I have shared with some of you that I've struggled with over the years, because people say, well, you have to forgive him. Like, how? How do you do this? How do you make yourself forgive? What does that look like? And so when I read again from Valerie Carr, her process, I was like, okay, it started to make some sense to me. So I'm going to share again some words of hers. And she says, no one should be asked to feel empathy or compassion for their oppressors. I have learned that we do not need to feel anything for our opponents at all in order to practice love. Well, that was the first time I thought about we can separate those feelings that we call love from the practice of love. She said, love is labor that returns us to wonder. And wonder is the word she uses when I use curiosity. We wonder about someone. We wonder what's happened in their life. We wonder about their story. So to me, I say we get curious. She says, it is seeing another person's humanity, even if they deny our own. It's remembering that we can still see their humanity. We would say the truth of who they are, the God in them. We just have to choose to wonder about them. Further on, she says, I do not owe my opponents my affection, warmth, or regard, but I do owe myself a chance to live in this world without the burden of hate. I shall permit no man, no matter his color, what his color might be, to narrow and degrade my soul by making me hate him. That's Booker T. Washington. She quoted him in here. She says, it reminds me of a line from Toni Morrison's novel, Love. Hate does that, burns off everything but itself, so whatever your grievance is, your face looks just like your enemy's. So as we sing that, there's a time for hate, a time for love, to think about that. What she's saying is if we allow ourselves to hate, we start to look just like what it is we don't like. We start to become that. So Valerie Carr continues, I refuse to let anyone belittle my soul or diminish my own expansive sense of self. The more I listen, the less I hate. The less I hate, the more I am free to choose actions that are controlled not by animosity, but by wisdom. Laboring to love my opponents is how I love myself. This is not the stuff of saintliness, this is our birthright. And so that spoke to me that as we choose to practice love, I have come to decide that forgiveness is a byproduct of that. It's not the forgiveness that we do. I haven't found the formula for that. The formula to me is practicing love. And as we get curious, as we wonder, as we listen, hate falls away and forgiveness is the byproduct. Forgiveness starts to happen. And that is what allows us then to find that place within us that can sit in love. So when we find hospitality towards someone difficult, I think we can choose to practice love. Practice it. to consider forgiveness and what that might look like. And again, I see forgiveness as that pivot point. So we've got this place here of something happened and where we're headed. And forgiveness is that pivot point where we look back, we look at the past and we say, this needs to be cleaned up. I need to forgive. We do that in the present, and that clears the path for the future. It doesn't change the past. It doesn't change what's happened, but it clears our path forward. It says, when you forgive, you don't change the past, you change your future. So forgiveness is the pivot point in that paradox that I'm calling the paradox of forgiveness. And that, I believe, is part of what we're doing to take care of our soul, our inner self, to heal that inner place. And so care of the soul, many of you probably know of Thomas More and his book, and he says, care of the soul means not taking sides when there is a conflict at a deep level. It may be necessary to stretch the heart wide enough to embrace contradiction and paradox. How can we stretch our hearts a little bit more to bring in that which feels like it's the opposite? How can we practice love in that way? And again, I think it's the curiosity and listening that helps get us there. So here we are. All of my thinking brought us back to love. Isn't that cool? All of these ideas, all of this work that goes on in our minds really returns us to love, because it really is all about love and law. And Ernest Holmes, further on in The Science of Mind on page 469, says, all is love, and yet all is law. Both love and law are perfect. And we as individuals can experience only what we really believe and act upon. So the choice is ours. What do we believe? And what do we choose to act upon? What do we choose to do? When we choose to practice love, forgiveness happens and sets the law in motion. It clears that pathway before us. It clears the stuff in our heads. And the law takes care of the rest. Living in and with a paradoxical mindset, then, playing with these paradoxes, we get to experience the warm and fuzzy and the seriously inspiring. The paradoxical mindset allows us to attract to us what works and also attract the opposite. We're attracting all the time. We have the likeness, we have the opposite. We can play with that paradoxical pivot point right in the middle there and see how we can move into both and, how we can move into holy hospitality, stretching our heart, opening a little wider. And we do this because we love ourselves. We do this out of self-love and a way to evolve and change as we move forward. So we forgive anything unlike love as it keeps showing up or as it has shown up. And why do we do this? For more room to love, including the love that we have for ourselves. Because I always say, this is a phrase that I've come up with years ago, I believe in relationships, opposites attract only if we don't love ourselves. Think about that. And the bottom line, the paradoxical mindset is that it's all love and it's all law, and the greatest of these is love. And so it is. Thank you. So practitioners, take your loving spaces around this room. We're so grateful for the love they bring into our community. And we'll just take a moment to go within and just picture the pivot points in your life, those places where the heart can stretch a little bigger, and the ways in which that Spirit moves in and through us to practice holy hospitality in our lives and in this community and in the world. And so knowing that Spirit is love itself expressing, and it expresses through the spiritual laws, we open ourselves to all the paradoxes that show up under the title, the law. Knowing that it is both and, it is love and law. And so we allow these actions to take place in our lives. We allow our hearts to be open. We allow ourselves to be aware of what is ours to do. And we bring ourselves forward and step fully into Spirit expressing through us in our lives. And so in gratitude of this awareness, of this playfulness with Paradox, we just allow ourselves to remain playful and open and filled with love as the law does its work. And we release these words. And so it is. Thank you.
This is Kay's song, but I just got to tell you, I love it so much, and I think it's so perfect for what we're talking about. So you wanna introduce it, Kay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking about all this time. I've been thinking about the pivot point, and what we're really looking for at times is that middle ground between two conflicting ideas. And so this song is appropriately titled Middle Ground by a favorite artist of mine, Dave Gunning. We are standing on a bridge. There's smoke on either side. Will they let it burn? Will they let it burn? And there's a story on the wind, and it's just as old as time. Is it too late to learn? Too late to learn. And the arguments have hardened, with both sides digging in. But there's a price to pay for leaving reason by the wayside. Respect has come and gone for another day. For another day. Can we rise above the noise? Are we ready to try? Can we pull ourselves together across the divide? Will it lead us to a place where peace can be found somewhere between us? On the middle ground, on the middle ground. And underneath the surface, the difference is thin. We're not so far apart, so far apart. Like a line drawn in the sand, till the tide comes rolling in. That's all we are, that's all we are. And now the salt of the earth, for all that it is worth, can't heal anything. So when the voices all go silent, the truth can be heard if we're listening, if we're listening. Can we rise above the noise? Are we ready to try? Can we pull ourselves together across the divide? Will it lead us to a place where peace can be found somewhere between us? On the middle ground, on the middle ground. Can we rise above the noise? Are we ready to try? Can we pull ourselves together across the divide? Will it lead us to a place where peace can be found somewhere between us? On the middle ground, on the middle ground.
Beautiful. Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah.
Great song. Thank you. Thank you. I love how it all comes together. Huh? Divine plan, exactly. Well, now is that time when we consider giving back to this amazing place where we come together for that holy hospitality as often as we can throughout the week and at least on Sundays. So I'm grateful. And 10% of all that comes into this space this month is going to the Spay and Neuter Action Program. And this is a place that allows us to give vouchers to people who might not be able to afford to spay or neuter their animals, and so that we can keep the populations down and hopefully prevent the suffering and death of other animals in the community, taking responsibility. So the 10% is going to SNAP, the Spay and Neuter Action Program this month. So let's say our blessing together. Shortly. There we go. I see it. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, in me. So think about that divine love and how it's moving this week. And we'll sing, I Am So Blessed.
I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed.
Today we are blessed with a potluck. You're welcome to stay whether you brought food or not, because the Baileys sent us with some brisket and pulled pork, and I know there's chicken thanks to Deb, so there's all kinds of food, plenty of it. So please stick around, and during our potluck we'll hear from the board. We'll have our town hall meeting. You can ask us questions. We'll talk about where we're headed and how to be more amazingly welcoming and practicing of that holy hospitality. So stay for some hospitality and food after the service. And we're going to sing
Go Out and Shine.
Go Out and Shine. Perfect for today.
Go out and shine your light. You know the time is right. You gotta go out and shine your light. Go out and shine. Go out and shine. Go out and shine your light. You know the time is right. You gotta go out and shine your light. Go out and shine. Go out and shine. Step out and take a chance. Walk the talk, join the dance. Relax, enjoy the ride. Let kindness be your guide. You gotta go out and shine your light. You know the time is right. You gotta go out and shine your light. Go out and shine. Go out and shine. One voice, one hand, one heart. Wanna change, make a start. We're one big family. What's good for you is good for me. Come on and go out and shine your light. You know the time is right. You gotta go out and shine your light. Go out and shine. Go out and shine. Go out and shine.
Have a great shiny week.